Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am pleased to welcome you to the 81st Annual Induction Ceremony of Delta Epsilon Sigma, the National Academic Honor Society for Catholic Colleges and Universities. My name is Alexander Scalzo, and I am the co-president of the Niagara University chapter of Delta Epsilon Sigma. Membership in the Niagara chapter is highly selective, restricted to the top 10% of junior and senior students. All of the students assembled at this ceremony today will, if they maintain their academic grade point averages and satisfy time requirements, be eligible to graduate at no less than magna cum laude. And so, we honor the best among our students today. The Niagara University chapter of Delta Epsilon Sigma was established in 1940, and its roster includes many of the most distinguished of our alumni. Induction entitles every student to permanent membership, both in the national organization and the university's chapter. There are 80 chapters nationally. Each year, the Niagara chapter sponsors 1 or 2 faculty forums on important public issues. We hope to enlist your support in making these forums timely and successful. Our message today is a simple one. Scholarship counts. It is, in fact, the very reason for our existence as a university. At the same time, we hope that scholarship will always be informed by good judgment and deep compassion, and we look to our Catholic and Vincentian heritage as both a guide and source of strength in this quest. I would like to introduce Austin Hinze, co-president of Delta, and our moderator, University Professor Dr. John Stranges.
It has been our practice over the years to invite the president of the university, the vice president and chief academic officer, the academic deans, and the department chairs to our induction ceremony. That is not possible this year, but we want them to know of our deepest appreciation of their long-standing personal endorsement of the high purpose of this society. We are fortunate, however, in having Father James Maher, president of the university, and Dr. Timothy Ireland, vice president and chief academic officer, address our inductees in remarks specifically prepared for this ceremony.
We will now proceed directly to the most important part of this ceremony, the induction of new members. First, the ritual. In a democratic society, wherein persons of like pursuits, abilities, interests, or convictions freely band themselves together for mutual support and encouragement, it is fitting that there be a national association constituted of selected individuals who have a record of outstanding scholastic accomplishment and who have promoted intellectual life. Membership in Delta Epsilon Sigma will be at once a distinction earned by past achievements and a stimulus to future intellectual work. The officers and members of this chapter of Delta Epsilon Sigma, after due consideration and deliberation, are convinced that you fulfill the requirements for membership in this national group of men and women whose motto is, "It is the mission of a wise person to put things in order." Wisdom is the perfection of knowledge. A wise person is one who has put order into knowledge, who discriminates between the true and the false, who appraises things at their proper worth, and who then can use this knowledge, along with the humility born of it, to go forward to accept the responsibilities and obligations which this ability imposes. We now ask you to affirm the principles for which Delta Epsilon Sigma stands.
Will the candidates please respond with "we do" to the following question. One who loves wisdom knows that it can only be gained through long and persevering labor. Do you seek wisdom through such labor? Please reply, "we do."
We now welcome you into this society of distinguished students, graduates, and faculty who have enjoyed the privileges and accepted the challenges offered to them. We feel confident that you too, by your influence, service, and example, will help to effect a synthesis of religion, morality, and knowledge. With these certificates, we signify that you are duly enrolled as members of Delta Epsilon Sigma. The seal of this society bears the Greek letters Chi Rho, the first 2 letters of the word Christ, and a lamp which reminds us of the light which shines in the darkness of an unbelieving world.
I am pleased to introduce the newest members of Delta Epsilon Sigma. Loriana Armenti, an education major from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Madison Outen, an event meeting management major from East Amherst, New York. Morgan Outen, a Spanish education major from East Amherst, New York. Brianna Marie Barbiero, a nursing major from Youngstown, New York. Stacy Lynn Bielik, a criminal justice major from Hamburg, New York. Hope M. Siodozinski, a finance major from Grand Island, New York. Brendan Dekoff, a biology major from Lockport, New York. Michael B. Donner, a computer information sciences major from Lockport, New York. Rose Marie Feller, a nursing major from Rochester, New York. Emily Festa, a nursing major from Rochester, New York. Logan Fisher, psychology major from Syracuse, New York. Catherine E. Hamill, a marketing major from Ontario, New York. Madison Hebron, a biology major from East Amherst, New York. Anna Hirt, a communications and media studies major from Lancaster, New York. Morgan Hilliker, a theater performance major from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Arthur Jokoy IV, a finance major from Niagara Falls, New York. Caden Johnson, an early childhood / special education major from Pittsford, New York. Nathaniel E. Johnson, a communications and history major from Ransomville, New York. Madeline Cates, a life sciences / psychology major from Williamsville, New York. Gabrielle Kehoe, a criminal justice major from Skaneateles, New York. Adam Kudrowski, a history and political science major from North Tonawanda, New York. Kayla Lavitt, a social work and criminal justice major from North Tonawanda, New York. Mackenzie Lazor, a luxury hotel operations major from Hogansburg, New York. Susan Leone, an early childhood education major from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Olivia Mason, a biology major from Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. Emma McCurry, a social work major from Amherst, New York. Shayna R. Mishral, a math major from Syracuse, New York. Morgan Owen, a math education major from Alden, New York. Rachel Claire Pinty, communication studies major from Clarence, New York. Angelica Porto, a nursing major from Niagara Falls, New York. Madison Pratt, a childhood and special education major from Middleport, New York. Alicia Quirinaville, a biology major from Kingsville, Ontario, Canada. Brittany M. Russo, communication studies major from Lewiston, New York. Abigail Sapecki, an English major from Burt, New York. Chloe Lee Schreier, a biochemistry major from Leroy, New York. Sarah Snodgrass, a philosophy major from Cheektowaga, New York. Tyharjra Snowden, a criminal justice major from Ransomville, New York. Peyton Sabaluski, a chemistry major from Liverpool, New York. Kylie Weber, a math education major from Williamsville, New York. Sarah Wotas, an environmental science major from Brockport, New York. John Wright, a chemistry major from Youngstown, New York. Your certificates will be mailed to you directly from the Honor Society National Office. Your honors cords and pins will be mailed to you from the university.
I am pleased to call on Reverend James J. Maher, President of Niagara University, for his remarks. Father Maher.
Good afternoon, and on behalf of the entire faculty, staff, and administration of Niagara University, let me first congratulate you on your induction into Delta Epsilon Sigma. In Niagara University, in our mission statement, we have a promise for you. We commit to preparing you for positions of responsibility in the professions and in the broader society, and through teaching, service, and research to develop within you a passion for learning and service. Today, we recognize that passion within you, a passion for excellence in academics, and a passion for learning as well as service. Delta Epsilon Sigma is not new to Niagara University. In fact, the Niagara University chapter was established more than 80 years ago, and previous inductees include individuals who are recognized as leaders in their respective industries, including healthcare, finance, business, retail, social service, and education, to name just a few. In fact, the chairman of the Niagara University Board of Trustees and current president of the Association of Catholic Colleges and Universities and the former president of DePaul University, Father Dennis Holzschneider, is a member of Delta Epsilon Sigma. We recognize the individuals who have come before you, and we know that they have a tremendous legacy at Niagara University. However, we also know that your induction into the Honor Society is different. that you've had to persevere and persist under very difficult and challenging circumstances. You continued your passion for excellence during a global pandemic. You adapted to remote and hybrid learning, and for more than a year have contributed and continued to excel, despite a vastly different university experience than any inductee before you. Remember, the mark of a truly successful person is the willingness to allow disruption to be your instructor. As we celebrate you today and honor your continuation of the excellent work you have done during the pandemic, I want to remind you that as a Vincentian university, Niagara University draws inspiration from St. Vincent de Paul, who organized his contemporaries to respond compassionately to the needs of the poor and those around him, to serve all members of society, especially the poor and the oppressed, in local communities and in the larger world. I told you earlier that we made a commitment to you. Now I ask you for a commitment in return. Your induction this afternoon is not the finish line. In fact, it's only the beginning. Today, I ask you to commit yourself and to find a way to turn your passion into compassion, to find a way to use your gifts to serve all members of society. In using your knowledge, your education, your passion, you will be able to make an incredible impact on your community and our community. And if you commit to that, you will continue to grow in your mind, body, heart, spirit, and soul. That is the commitment I ask of you today. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations on your induction into Delta Epsilon Sigma. You have made us very proud.
I am pleased to call on Dr. Timothy Ireland, University Provost, for his remarks. Dr. Ireland?
Welcome to all those joining us today, faculty, administrators, students, parents, and other family members. This year is certainly an impressive collection of inductees. Year in and year out, I am consistently impressed with the student quality joining Delta Epsilon Sigma, and I am truly grateful for the opportunity to congratulate each of you on your accomplishments. So back in the day, as an undergraduate in the early 1980s, pre-COVID, pre-cell phone, pre-tablet, pre-laptop, I was an English literature major, and one of my favorites was George Bernard Shaw, a playwright from Ireland. I have 3 quotes from Mr. Shaw that I would like to share with you today. First, a life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. I'm going to repeat it. A life spent making mistakes is not more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. Look, I've been provost for about 5 years this summer, and I've made some mistakes. Know that my intentions are always good. I've always focused on my desire to make NU the best it can be, but I surely have wobbled. However, what's the alternative? To do nothing? To avoid taking on challenges? To avoid risk? Simply because I fear mistakes and I fear failure? It's not an option. So I encourage you to live an honorable and useful life, which will require you to take risks and make mistakes. Second quote, progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. In other words, be open to new ideas. I have been involved in higher education for almost 25 years. Every year, a student or a colleague will say something in class or in a meeting, or will send an email or a text, and it will be a wow moment for me. I see something in a new light. I see an idea presented from a different perspective, and all of a sudden I see my position full of holes. I see my assumptions and beliefs beginning to crumble, and I can be persuaded. Know that ideas drive change. Without change, there's no progress, and without progress, life stagnates. So be open to new ideas, engage in civil discourse, remain informed, and try to think in new ways about complicated issues. My third quote, a happy family is but an early heaven. I don't care how you define family, but know that George Bernard Shaw believed that a happy family is quite simply heaven on earth. and know that this is what we strive for at NU, a happy family, periodically confronted with challenges, but full of joy and laughter. So in closing, don't be afraid to fail, or in other words, don't be afraid to take some risk. Be open to other perspectives, and don't shy away from change, and establish close, permanent relationships with as many people as possible. Congratulations on your induction this spring, and for navigating through a very challenging academic year. This year, for you, should always be worn as a badge of pride, a badge of strength, and a badge of perseverance. You should be very proud of your accomplishments. Congratulations.
Finally, I am pleased to call on our moderator, Dr. John Stranges, for his remarks. Dr. Stranges has served Niagara for many years as a faculty member, department chair, vice president for academic affairs, and the institution's first university professor. Dr. Stranges.
Thank you, Alex. I want to congratulate all of the inductees on your academic success and welcome you to membership in Delta Epsilon Sigma. Scholarship can often be a solitary task. There are distractions everywhere to escape, even in normal times. The past year and a half has upended the practices and traditions of normal university life. So it is fair to say that your achievement is all the more impressive. It takes a good deal of personal discipline to maintain the standards you have set for yourselves. Scholarship can also bring much personal satisfaction and enjoyment on its own. You and I both know that, but we don't say it often enough. I hope the public recognition you have received today contributes in some way to that satisfaction. One of my favorite thinkers on higher education is Isaiah Bowman, the president of the Johns Hopkins University some years ago. Bowman would remind students that a university cannot guarantee that they will become physicians, lawyers, teachers, nurses, or a member of any of the professions. But what it can do is assume that there is an intellectual urge in every student who enters the gate. And what a university must do is assist students in finding what Bowman called a student's internal center of action. The goal is to start something inside students, as well as load them up with vast amounts of information or methods of inquiry. A bachelor's degree is not just a certificate that students had taken something, courses, hours, or labs. It is also proof that they had started something inside themselves and had driven it to the first level of achievement. This is not the inevitable end product of an academic course of study. It doesn't just happen. Rather, it is the result of a deliberate and continuous effort. We've all known people who mature by experience or knowledge in later years, and we admire them. But you will have an advantage if you strive now, not just for skill, but for mastery and distinction. At the same time, I hope you will agree that a Niagara education is far more than preparation for on-the-job proficiency. There is a certain grace and dignity, combined with respect and concern for others, that has always characterized Niagara at its best. These ideals have guided us from our founding and permeate much of what happens on this campus today. The Vincentian ethic of service to the poor and oppressed has an honored place in the growing national view of social justice for all people at home and abroad. I am confident that these ideals have a permanent place in your intellectual and spiritual makeup. Let me say finally that it is my good fortune to be the moderator of a society that inducts into membership the best of our students. I hope that in the fall, we will have returned to a level of normality that enables Delta Epsilon Sigma to resume its traditional activities, particularly the sponsorship of a forum on a major public issue, and the formal in-person spring induction ceremony. For our returning members, I would ask that if you are interested in serving as an officer or assisting in any way, please let me know. Speaking of officers, I want to thank Christina Johnson for her service as chapter president last year. And I want to offer special thanks to Alex Scalzo and Austin Hinze, who stayed on a second year, this time as co-presidents. Their work was crucial in keeping Delta on track during an uncertain time at the university. I look forward to meeting as many members of Delta as possible, and I wish you continued success for the rest of this semester.
This concludes today's event. I would like to thank you all for joining us and once again congratulate all of our new inductees.